listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Hey, before we get rolling here, I have a special message for you if you are a full-time business owner. You have got to know about the next Kick-Ass Mastermind Live event. It's happening from July 31st to August 2nd, 2019 in Austin, Texas. And I really want you to be there. I'm going to be there and I want you to be there too. So you've heard me talk about Kick-Ass Masterminds before, right? I myself have been in a Kick-Ass Mastermind since March 2018, and it continues to be the absolute best investment I've ever made and continue to make in my business. And seriously, I do not say that lightly. So I attended Mastermind Live in January of this year. And from that event, I got the idea, the inspiration, and the support I needed to create the Marketing Personalities Affiliate Program. And the affiliate program has been a massive sales generator ever since I launched it in February. And I can say this so honestly, without Mastermind Live, that affiliate program would not exist and my business wouldn't have expanded so much already this year. And that's the kind of thing that happens when you attend Mastermind Live. It's 2.5 days dedicated to masterminding ideas and strategies to expand and grow your business. With me, yes, I'll be there, and a group of 40 other established full-time business owners, all expertly curated by Sarah Christensen and her team at Kick-Ass Masterminds. So you'll be spending time with legit in the trenches entrepreneurs. And that's really what I appreciate most about this event and everything that Kick-Ass Masterminds does. See, there are zero entrepreneurs. You know what I mean, right? Like no entrepreneurs, no regurgitated business advice from people who talk the talk, but don't really walk the walk. You know, that's so annoying. No waste of time, no irrelevant guest speakers, no fluff. So if you're a full-time business owner like me, and you're dedicated to growing a sustainable company and making a big impact on this world, I know you are. You would not listen to this podcast if that was not you. Seriously, there's no better event to attend this year. So let's do this. Get all the details by visiting mastermind.live. I've linked it at the top of the show notes, so it's super easy to find. And when you decide to attend, make sure that you mention that you're a Marketing Personalities podcast listener. And when you do that, you'll get $100 off your ticket price. So totally worth it. Make sure that you mention this podcast. Early bird ticket prices, they expire on June 1st. So do not wait. Go to mastermind.live now to speak with the Kick-Ass team, sign up, and then I'll see you in Austin on July 31st. All right, let's get to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. I'm Brit Kolo, and I'm here today with Brittany White-Volks, who is a client success and retention strategist for women entrepreneurs. Brittany, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Brittany and I are here today to discuss her marketing personality type. She's an INTP, also known as the Logician. And I'm going to tell you right now, INTPs are not always super cool with getting behind the mic. So the fact that she has said yes to my invitation to come onto the podcast, I'm super honored by that. It's not the most comfortable place for her, but I just felt like through my interactions with her, how diligent of a student she's been to the marketing personality type way of marketing, just all of it. I just really wanted her on the podcast. And she was like, ooh, that's kind of scary, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so here we are. I'm just so honored to have her here. And before we get into her personality type being an INTP, I want to I want you to get to know her. I have experienced her mostly through Instagram. We connected on Instagram. She's been following me for a while. Then I started following her. We have conversations back and forth. She really enjoyed her experience with marketingpersonalities.com. And she's just always really engaged and a delight to get a message from and get a comment from and just go back and forth with. So that's really why she's here. And I want you to get to know her. Okay, so before we dig into all of that, I want you to get to know Brittany. So Brittany, tell us about your business. What do you do and who do you serve?
My business is I help women entrepreneurs design, streamline, and automate their post-purchase customer success program. So what that means is when people buy things from you, you don't just ghost them. You actually create a system that keeps them engaged, keeps them involved, and you do it on autopilot. And they feel engaged and supported, and you're engaging and supporting them and creating raving clients at the same time, where you're not actually doing it individually one by one, but it feels like you are.
Yeah, because at some point, I'm sure, and I definitely recognize this in my own business, at some point you hit a tipping point where if you're selling a bunch of products every day, it's not sustainable to then walk that customer, every single customer that you bring in a day, to their next step and make them feel at home. You have to rely on automated emails and systems to be able to do that for you. And then when you need to get in there, one-on-one you can, but you've got to have a system outside of yourself and that one-on-one communication that's going to guide those people in. So that's really smart. Okay, so what you just said was you are really specializing in client retention and also client success, which are one and the same, right? It's not enough just to bring somebody in and then them not really gain any value or find success. It's really a twofold thing. Getting them to stick around, and through that sticking around, they will find success. Really interesting. What kind of clients are you working with? Who is really needing this service?
I would have to say that people who are really kind of heart-centered, so they care about people getting results, but they aren't really sure how to support people in a way that's not completely draining them and not completely cold either. So it's like the person who really feels that they want these people to have success. They want them to use their product. They just can't hold them by the hand directly. Like they can't just say, I'm going to call you every single day to make sure this happens. No, you create an email sequence that basically does that for you. And when they reach out to you, you're able to reach back out as a person and support them that way as well.
Yeah.
So anyone who's really focused on actually helping people get the results that they promised when they sold them the product.
Yeah. Oh man, I can totally see this being, I could just kind of feel the listener kind of sigh a sigh of relief if they're in this place where, especially if they worked one-on-one for a while with people and had that really high touch service, and then they went and they pivoted to a more scalable model. And now they feel like they might have kind of lost that high touch ability and the ability to really take their every single customer of their product, or more like a hands-off type of service. If they feel like they can't really guide that person to success anymore, this is giving them a peek into what's actually possible, because you can guide people to success even in your scalable model that you've built selling products. You can absolutely do that. You might just not do it at that one-on-one high touch level, but it's still so valuable and so doable. And Brittany gets in there to help you build those automations. So cool. So let's move on to really connect the dots for people, because I think it's so fascinating what you do and how aligned with your personality type this really is. So Brittany, tell us what your personality type is again.
I am an INTP.
INTP. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to be honest. I don't get a ton of INTPs in my world. they're there, but I don't really get to talk with them very much. I don't think that they're typically real talkers. Like they're behind the scenes getting stuff done and strategized and automated and just working. And so Brittany and I are pretty different in our personality types. We only have that N there in the middle that overlaps. So we're pretty different. And I don't think that we cross paths very often as two personality types.
Actually, I'm married to an ENFJ.
Are you really? Oh my gosh, that's so
Yes.
cool. You know what? That is so fascinating because I just recorded an interview with two co-founders who have exactly opposite personality types. And we got on the mic to just discuss how that actually works really well in partnership. And not that we're exact opposites, but we're pretty different. And so then that synergy sometimes is really fun to watch and fun to just play with. So that's pretty cool. If I had to think, let me think about my husband. My husband isn't an exact opposite, but he's pretty darn close. So yeah, there is some fun magic there, but I still have to get more data and I have to be at this for longer to see how people interact with the marketing personalities brand, being that it's primarily run by me. And then later on, when I have more people really primarily running it, how the audience maybe changes. We'll see. But what I know about the INTP is that you are an innovative inventor with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. How does that sit with you? Like, do you really resonate with that?
Yes, it's true.
It's true. Totally true.
Well, I was going to say that it can be to a detriment because I research a lot, like a lot. And sometimes it's hard to get things actually done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I'm researching a lot and it feels like I'm doing a lot of work, but in reality, I'm not because I'm researching, I'm thinking, well, I'm doing thinking work. So I'm doing a lot of thinking work, researching, but there isn't a lot to show for it sometimes on the external plane where people can see that I have been thinking a lot. I have been working a lot on gathering my ideas together. So it's a positive to me for the most part until I get into almost like a funk where I'm basically, or not in a funk, but in like a weird hyper research. And then it's just like a serious rabbit hole. So it's really important to, if I want to get things done, to be able to put a stop to it.
Well, now, of course, my next question is like, how do you put a stop to it? I'm sure it's like, it depends on the thing, like whatever you're researching, but like, have you found a way to put a stop to that? Okay, like I've learned a lot and now it's time to do the things. What does that look like for you?
For me, sometimes it's after I get a headache. It's mostly when I have to, like, I take a pause, like just like naturally, like I just pause. I just force myself to pause and ask the question, is this for my business? Is this for my client's business? Or is this just for the sake of learning? And if it doesn't fall into either my business or the client's business, then I'm like, okay, well, we'll just have to put a pin in this and come back to it at another point and focus more on one or the other two. Of course, sometimes I can get caught up in researching for my business. So then that question gets narrowed down again. And it's like, is this for my business or is this for their business? And then if I say it's for my business after previously narrowing down, it goes back to their business.
Do you know what I love about that deduction? Well, no, I kind of spilled the beans there. What I love about that is it's such a formulaic deduction process, which is exactly your superpower. So that's so funny. It's like, okay, let me categorize. Let me take big picture. Let me make it into smaller chunks. Can I chunk it down from there? So cool how you just identified that. I cannot wait to hear from the INTPs in the audience how this is resonating with them. Because I can just feel that moment of relief of like, oh, I'm not alone here. Like this is me, and that's okay. And then on the flip side, I have to step in and reflect something to you, Brittany, because I feel like I'm a lifelong learner, but I'm not a deep learner. I want to speed read. I want to take in a lot of information, but I don't want to really spend a ton of time in it. And I don't even need to like know it at a masterful level. I just want to keep learning so I can keep doing. So it's a different approach to learning. And I recognize that between the two of us. And so from my perspective, I really, and this is so genuine, I have to tell you, I really admire people who learn like you do and really dig in to the details and find that level of mastery in whatever you're doing. That's really helpful for like a really fast mover like me. Cause sometimes I need to be pulled back by someone like you and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like you think you know, you don't really like pull it back. Let's check on this. Like, let's do some data checks here. So I really admire that. I think that's super cool. So we kind of alluded to it before, but being an INTP, my advice to INTPs is to take a proven digital trackable sales funnel and make it your own. So take something, whether it's from a template or something you've seen somebody do, maybe you're kind of following someone else's launch process or email sequence or whatever. You gather all that data and then you study what they've done and then you innovate it to make it better because you are that innovator. You're just so naturally like, I can do that better. Let me see if I can figure out a way to do that better. Well, first of all, as I explain that, do you see yourself doing that? Does that resonate?
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know if you mind me sharing, but I'm actually in a program where they teach you to emulate before you innovate. And it just rubs me the wrong way because my immediate thought to it is like, how do I know that I'm emulating something that will actually work for me? Mm-hmm. So my questioning comes back up. It's like, I don't think so. As much as I am a thinker, I care about how people feel on the other side of things. Mm-hmm. So since I care about how people feel about on the other side of things, I definitely like to innovate things so that they actually feel more like a human and not like I call it wham, bam, thank you, ma'am marketing, which is prevalent. And I do not like it. So I edit a lot of things to be a little longer, the sequence to be a little longer, to connect more as a person. I do this mostly through email. I'm an email person and I might have gotten off track.
So this is interesting because I've heard this about INTPs and I wonder if this feels true for you. I've heard where for an INTP, this juxtaposition of the N, which is intuitive, and the T, which is thinking, you are, well, just like all the analysts do, I think that you have a really unique way of playing both ends, like that intuitive, really paying attention to what's going on internally, and then making decisions from the data. Those two things can sometimes be at odds, but when you find out how to blend them really well, which analysts do, you end up innovating and creating something just totally brilliant. Some of the most brilliant minds on the planet. And what I hear you saying is, I can take the strategy, I can take the bones, I can take the pieces that I can think about, the logistics, and then I'm going to use my intuition and this internal knowing that I'm still speaking to humans here. So when I get into this quote unquote funnel, I'm still going to treat the person on the other end like they have a soul because they do.
Yeah.
And that is a superpower, total superpower. Like I can think of people right now who are, I think primarily intuitive feelers, are diplomats with the N and the F in the middle, intuitive feelers. And I think what really holds a lot of intuitive feelers back from scaling their business is because they fear that there's no way to communicate with a larger customer base in the way that you're describing. Like it's still going to be through email. It's still going to be automated, but it's going to appreciate and uplift the person on the other end, even if you don't have your hands in every single piece of that. So you're showing us that there is a way to do this.
Oh, most definitely.
So INTP of you. So good.
Can I give a tip?
Yeah, please do.
When it comes to email, I feel that a lot of people feel that there's, like they have to talk a certain kind of way. My biggest thing is I had a picture at one point of what I surmised my ideal client to look like. And I wrote to her. So even though this email was going out to like hundreds of people, I wrote to this one person. And I often get replies to my emails that come from like people, sometimes people I haven't actually spoken to ever. And they're like, wow, you really explained this really well to me, as if I was sitting right in front of you. And in my head, of course, it's like, because you were. So use that, like you're talking to another person right in front of you, and write to them and feel like you're a real person talking to another real person. It also will cause you possibly to shift the way you talk in your marketing messages overall. Because if you wouldn't say it to somebody sitting right in front of you, you probably shouldn't send it in an email.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, that goes against the wham bam, thank you, ma'am, bro marketing stuff I think we were talking about before, right? It's like,
yeah,
would you actually say that if you were sitting down for coffee with them? And if you would, yo, dude, like, get out of my space. Okay, so I think that's really great advice, especially for an INTP. And this was kind of where I was going before. I'm wondering, I've heard and I've seen like memes from INTPs that on the exterior, they seem a bit robotic, but truly you have all of the internal emotions. Like you've got a lot of emotion going into every single thing you do, but on the exterior, it looks more robotic. Does that feel kind of accurate?
That's pretty true.
It's pretty true. Okay. That's interesting.
I think what it is, and I was just talking to, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was talking to my husband. And I was saying to him that FOMO is not real for me. Mm. And even though I have feelings, I have emotions, things happen inside, I don't let them decide on what I'm going to do. I specifically remove my emotion from the decision. And from a lot of other things, which is, to be honest, why I'm in therapy. So I can actually insert them back in certain areas and not let them control. So it is true that I would say that we look kind of cool. If you see us, we're probably drifting off into somewhere or something. Mm-hmm. But we are pretty soft on the inside. It's somewhere in there.
Yeah. It's like this. It's like the thinking mind might lead the decisions, but the really big heart is not far behind. Right?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this. I've done some research. And what I've found is that our feeling is an inferior. Like, so we're actually, like, if you can possibly hit us at a moment and we may bust into tears. And for me, that's like certain parts in movies, Little Mermaid. There's like just certain moments where it's just like I'm a babbling baby, crying. And then other moments, it's like, get your act together. Why are you crying?
Yeah, it's that blend. It's that really interesting blend. And I think because you can bring both of those things to the table, maybe that's what is creating the high, like, innovator, inventor kind of thing that's going on in your work. That is interesting. And I don't know. I mean, we don't know the answers to this. And, I can't help but think I had someone reach out to me in email in the last, week or so, really pushing back on the conversations that we're having here on the podcast, because she was receiving it as if, like, if I talk to one INFJ or one INTP, that we're saying that, like, all of them are like this. And that's just not true. That's never where we're coming from. And specifically for INTPs, and I'll also extend this to INTJs, these two personality types, you're going to naturally rebel against anyone putting you in a box ever. And I'm not trying to put anybody in a box. Brittany and I are not trying to say like, you all are like this. Never, never, never. There are billions of people on the planet and only 16 personality types. This is not a perfect science here, right? And we're humans, so we're so multifaceted. It's just interesting to see kind of maybe some trends that we might be able to pull out. And based on those trends, first of all, a feeling of like, okay, I'm not alone here. Like I can act this way. And so what if it's different from the 15 other personality types? It works for me. And I just see such superpower in it. It's so admirable to me. And you can gain so much insight in how you want to do business based on that. So I'm curious, with that in mind, how do you do marketing that feels good to you, Brittany? Like, what does that look like in marketing your own stuff?
So first, I'm going to go back a little bit because actually the very first time I spoke to you was in an email that I sent replying to your opt-in, saying that I don't really think, I'm thinking about this now, it's funny.
Was it really?
Yeah, because first I was like excited because, your name is Brit. And I was like, wait, is her name Brittany? Because, that's cool if it is. But then you said something in your guide and I was like, oh, that's not true. Let me email her and let her know. So I emailed you the first time, but then I reread the whole thing and it says, as an INTP, you're probably going to rebel against all of this. And I was like, well, she already knew. So.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny because, and I've said this so many times before, I get the most emails from INTJs and INTPs being like, this isn't real. And then we have a conversation about it. And then I'm like, oh, okay. I see what you mean here. So that's so cute. I didn't realize that that's how this all started.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But to answer your question, I actually have a Facebook group and I think about closing it every single day. And that by the time this thing airs, it may be closed. Who knows? And I've always felt like it was a should, not something that I wanted to do. And so it feels really, I'm good at being in other people's groups, but I'm not good. I don't personally feel I'm good at leading a group. I'm more of kind of like an explorer type. So if you're following me, it's at your own risk. But I love email. Like that's like, it's like near and dear to my heart. I can type, I can send things. I talk to one person, even though it's going out to hundreds. I can do crazy cool things with like conditional content and people seeing certain things that if they have this tag or that tag, segmentating and all that, segmentation. So I enjoy email. I enjoy blogging and writing about stuff, talking about stuff. I do have a podcast, but it's like hit or miss. It's very in line with how I operate, which is I kind of disappear sometimes in different areas of my life for a while, which is why I don't think it's good for me to run a Facebook group because I actually disappeared on them for like 2 weeks a while back.
That's really interesting to hear you kind of reflect on that because what it sounds like is there have been some shoulds on your marketing strategy. And now as you've learned about owning your INTP type and what that means, it sounds like you're kind of in the middle of that shifting of like, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no wonder the Facebook group didn't really feel great. And no wonder the podcast didn't really stick for me. But over here, this conversation, this communication through email, it's just techie enough to make me feel like, okay, like I'm safe here and I can put my own pizzazz into it. And then because you're such an insatiable learner, you are being able to learn stuff and then communicate it out to your people through email. And like the fact that you just went into like, yeah, I can like segment and I can do this with this group and that, like for some people, they hear that and they're going to be, they're like segmenting, like that does not sound fun. And to you, you're like, oh yeah, that's my jam. And that's the beauty here.
Oh yeah.
That is the beauty here. I love it. Okay. So I'm curious to hear, what would you say to a fellow INTP? What's your best advice when it comes to an INTP business owner?
I would say to an INTP business owner to Tell people what's in your head. Originally, I was going to say, when I read this question, originally I was going to say, get out of your head. But I'm like, no, that's what makes us special. Tell people what's going on inside. Like, tell people what are your thoughts, how you've actually thought through this process and experienced it from both the logical side and, the emotional side. And that doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good for the people on the other side. So share what's going on inside for you. Share what's your thoughts. Just share, basically. Share what's going on with you. However it feels best for you to do that, do it. Because the world needs more of us to actually share what's going on instead of basically keeping it to ourselves and then our relegant blogs that someone may or may not find on the internet at some point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so good. As you were saying that, something kind of tripped in my brain. I'm like, ooh, I feel like this is somewhere in the INTP Marketing Personality full report. And it is. And this is actually just online for free too, when you go to find your marketing personality type. But it's when you look at the INTP, your power is realized when you show how thorough and detailed your learning, deduction, and solution processes are. So that right there showcases the fact that you know so much and you've learned so much. Your power, where people really see the value in partnering with you, buying from you, working with you, whatever, is really when you can show how you've figured all this out. And your advice is so complimentary to that. Like, okay, so show us. Can you show us? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in your head. Can you show us in some way that feels right for you? That I think is such great advice. Thank you so much for that. I can't wait to hear from INTPs. INTPs, wherever you are, if email is your jam, like it is for Brittany, send me an email and just let me know how this has resonated for you. Yeah, I'm probably going to get a couple that are like, no, you're wrong, because you're going to rebel against it. I totally get it. But I'm really interested to have more conversations with INTPs and understand really what makes you tick here and how this plays out in your business. So please send me an email. I want to hear from you. And before we go, Brittany, could you please tell the listeners where they can find you online and reach out to you?
Yes, but I had a thought while you were saying this.
Yeah, go for it.
And I just wanted to share how I actually got into what I'm doing is actually because I was weirdly in customer service for a long portion of my career and I've been dealing with a lot of people. But I also love technology, like email. I build websites on the side. And combining these two, through everything that I've learned and experienced, I've combined these two into one thing that's now focused on helping people develop their customer success program. And it's mostly about building their system. So this all came from research, becoming certified as a coach, thinking that I wanted to coach people, realizing that I didn't want to coach people. But realizing that there's aspects to coaching that can actually be synthesized into a system that helps people stay on track, even if they fall off track, So I've taken these and put them all together. And I think that that's something that INTPs as a whole are really good at if we allow ourselves to fully step into who we are as people. That sounds kind of coachy, right?
That's okay. I dig it.
Step into who we are as people. And when we do that, when we step in and we own the fact that we like to research and we own the fact that, actually, when we say actually and what's coming behind it is actually based research, is owning that and then using that to add to the world in our own special way.
Yeah. Amen, sister.
Well, you can find me on Instagram.
Yes, go hang out with her on Instagram, please. Where are you on Instagram?
I'm at Brittany White-Volks, like no hyphens, no capitals, no periods. Just my name on Instagram. You can find my links to my website there too.
Yeah, we've of course linked to her Instagram in the show notes, right here in the description, wherever you're listening right now. So you can just click over, give her a follow, hang out with her, and of course, find her online through Instagram as well. So, okay, you heard her. Go check her out, Instagram at Brittany White-Volks. And of course, to find a marketing strategy that feels good to you, visit marketingpersonalities.com. Hey, before you go, a reminder for you if you're a full-time business owner. Mastermind Live is happening July 31st to August 2nd, 2019 in Austin, Texas. And I want to see you there. Get all the details by visiting mastermind.live. I've linked it at the top of the show notes, so it's super, super easy to find. And when you decide to attend, make sure you mention that you're a Marketing Personalities podcast listener to get $100 off your ticket price. Early bird ticket prices expire on June 1st, so do not wait. Go to mastermind.live now to speak with the kick-ass team, sign up, and I'll see you in Austin on July 31st. Listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your marketing personality type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.